While Harry Potter is billed as a fantasy, the Sorcerer's Stone had plenty of mystery elements. These elements carry into the Mystery at Hogwarts board game, released in 2000 and branded around the first book. But does the intrigue of the saga's beloved beginning translate to the tabletop? In Mystery at Hogwarts, not to be confused with the Hogwarts Mystery mobile game from 2018, up to 6 wizards and witches compete to uncover who broke the headmaster's rule. The game takes place around the halls of Hogwarts, and wow, is the artwork dazzling! You've never seen Hogwarts look so enchanting in a board game. Even though you only get a glimpse into the rooms, they have so much character, like Mrs. Norris poking her head out of Filch's office, and this owl flying above the tables in the Great Hall. It certainly compensates for the player movers not matching their house colors. I mean, come on! Would it have killed them to make this burgundy wizard hat even a little closer to the Gryffindor red? And then there's the character cards. You've got the big three, and then Malfoy and Crabbe? I guess they were rushing this onto store shelves while the Harry Potter iron was still hot, but I also find it funny they prioritized drawing up Goyle before Harry's arch-rival. Or at least, the arch-rival who isn't actively trying to murder him. You set up the game by sorting these cards by character, spell, and classroom, and then shuffling. Then you take one from each without peeking and slide them into Fluffy's sleeve, shuffle the rest of the blue cards together, and deal them out evenly to each player. Everyone has a sheet to keep track of the cards they've seen, so you'll mark off each card in your hand and do so as you see more and more of your opponent's cards. How do you do that? Roll the dice and move around Hogwarts. The goal here is to stop in a room, and when you do, you declare a wizard, spell, and the name of the room you're occupying. The player to your left must secretly show you one of those cards. If they don't have one, the next player on your left does the same, and this repeats until someone can show you one of the 3 cards you name. As the game progresses, you'll see more and more cards, and through process of elimination, you'll eventually figure out who broke the headmaster's rule, which spell they did it with, and in which room. If this sounds familiar, it should. Because the Mystery at Hogwarts board game is essentially a ripoff of the classic mystery game Clue. There actually was a Harry Potter Clue released in 2008, but Clue is owned by Hasbro, and their toy aisle arch nemesis Mattel published this game in 2000. Thankfully, this isn't just a Clue reskin, it's more like Clue drank a polyjuice potion with a pluck of hair from Colonel Mustard's mustache, because there are 2 notable features you won't find in Hasbro's original whodunit. In addition to your playing pieces, Peeves the Poltergeist patrols the board throughout the game. The rulebook refers to him as the Ghost for some reason, but yeah, it's definitely Peeves. He starts in front of the Great Hall, and when you roll the 2 dice on your turn, you can move your piece the total on the dice, move him the total on the dice, or move you 1 die's result and him the other die's result. While Peeves can never enter rooms, he can freely move around the hallway spaces in Hogwarts to catch opponents. If you move him to a space occupied by an opponent, they get bumped back to the starting square in the middle of the board. That's not a big deal, since most of the rooms are within 4 spaces of the entry space anyway. The other benefit to a Peeves pestering is far superior. When Peeves ambushes another player, you choose either a character or spell, and that player has to show you one of those corresponding cards from their hand. Landing a Peeves attack on a fellow wizard early into the game can feel satisfying as it gets you 1 step closer to cracking the mystery. But Peeves rarely meets his full potential, and becomes more obsolete as the game progresses. You see, when Peeves spooks an opponent, you get to choose whether you want to see a character or spell from their hand, but they get to choose which card to reveal to you. So once you reach the point where you've seen both a character and a spell from that player, they'll just show you a card you've already crossed off. Once you hit the second half of the game, Peeves becomes, well, a ghost. No one uses him because everyone realizes their die rolls are better spent getting yourself to classrooms off the beaten path that you still need to litmus test. The only times Peeves, or excuse me, the ghost, saw play in the late game was to occasionally block rooms. Nobody can move through Peeves, so if they're in a room and he's occupying the one space connecting that room to the rest of Hogwarts, you can make him a nuisance for your foe, so they have to burn one of those dice to move him. It is ironic that a ghost is the piece you can't pass through, but it is thematically fitting, since Peeves' sole goal in his posthumous form is to annoy the people of Hogwarts. The dice you roll are standard d6, except the 1 pip is replaced with the Hogwarts crest. Whenever you roll a crest, instead of using that die to move, you draw a green Hogwarts card and immediately carry out its effect. And you want to draw these cards, because some of them can be game-breaking. Some cards let you move your piece, but others let you peek at your opponent's cards. This busted McGonagall card lets you peek at 3 cards from another player. On a basic turn where you don't roll a crest, you can only see a maximum of 1 card. So drawing this one can potentially put you a whole 3 turns ahead of your opponents. 2 other cards let you pick a player and they must show you all the spells or characters in their hand. And it's because of these cards that make the game far too unbalanced at lower player counts. If you're playing one-on-one, drawing either of these cards will instantly inform you what character or spell lies in Fluffy's pack. There are only 10 of these green cards, so the likelihood of a player reaping these overpowered benefits is as inevitable as someone going, "It's Leviosa," when this spell card is brought up. Other cards include the Invisibility Cloak, which protects you from being attacked by Peeves. The only reason I'm calling this card out in the review is to again draw attention to the artwork. I mean, look at how the illustrator meshed the background texture into the folds of the cloak. The visuals of this game immerse you into the magic and wonder of Hogwarts, and are absolutely the best feature. Especially with how the cards mix with the board. 4 green cards have no text and are just an illustration. These open up new passageways on the board by doing this. Placing this one with the statue is so exciting. You feel like you're uncovering even more secrets in Hogwarts, not just the main objective's mystery. Some of these passageways are mandatory to trigger the endgame. Once someone's confident they can correctly name the who, what, and where, they must make their way to the sleeping Fluffy, whose envelope artwork is also neatly integrated with the board's visual design. Fluffy starts the game blocked off from everyone until a player flips over one of the Hogwarts cards that can build a bridge to him. Once a witch or wizard lands on the space of Hagrid's Cerberus, they declare who they think cast the curse, which curse it was, and in which room it was cast before peeking into the envelope. If they're right, they win. But if they're wrong, they're out of the game. Some of you already have your opinions about Classic Clue, and for those whose only positive memories of it involve the great Tim Curry, Peeves and the Hogwarts cards won't be enough to change your opinion. However, I love when games incentivize you to pay attention to your opponent's turns, and engaging strategies like tracking who's shown each other cards to make deductions even when it's not your turn carry over seamlessly from Hasbro's Classic. Due to these cards in particular though, this game isn't worth playing with any less than 4 people, but you can't knock a game for not accommodating smaller player counts. And a game with artwork this great and the always rewarding deduction gameplay is enough to land Mystery at Hogwarts in board game Utopia. Do you remember this game? What did you think of it? And what nostalgic board game should I review next? Let me know in the comments below.